Hi everyone, welcome to the Trip101 YouTube channel. I'm Bianca, a content executive at Trip101, and this is another episode of our travel talk series. So this is a series on our YouTube channel where we talk to local tour guides and then we ask them questions about their region. So this just helps our travelers have a more enjoyable and easier experience while they're traveling all across the globe. So today we're talking to Rene, an accredited tour guide working in Montreal, the cultural capital of Canada. So welcome, Rene. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, how are you, Bianca? Thanks for having me. My name is Rene, and actually, I am a tourist guide in Montreal. As you were saying, the cultural capital of Canada since 2016. So I've been giving tours of the city and of the region for the last 8 years, 9 years almost. And well, that's it. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So I understand that you've been to over 40 countries. Is that right?
Yeah, more than 40 countries. That's when I did my profile a long time ago. So yes, I do travel. I do travel quite a bit.
Okay. So I'm kind of curious how you settled in Montreal and what it is about the city that really drew you in.
Well, actually, it is a super interesting city. It's a
Mhm.
city that has a lot of people from all over the world. So it's really, really melting pot, different cultures. Actually, Montreal was settled by the French and then it's going to be conquered by the British. And then I like to say that it became bipolar. But for the last good amount of years, well, you have different flows of immigration all along the history of Montreal. So today, our city has more than 100 different nationalities that are living in the metropolitan region of Montreal. So it makes it a really, really diverse city that has an excellent offer for people that want to visit,
Okay.
of cultural offer, festivals, restaurants, all different kind of things.
Yeah, well, since you've been there for a few years now, I'm sure you have a lot of good recommendations and insider information for our travelers today.
Yes, for sure. And actually, it's not that I've been here. I've been here for many years than that. I started being a tourist guide 8 years ago or 9 years ago, but I've been here for many, 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 many years. Okay, so you could consider me a Montrealer.
Yeah. Okay, so to start with our interview today, maybe we can start with getting into the city and how tourists can get around. So how far away would you say the airport is from Montreal city center? And what's the easiest way to get to the city center from there?
Well, there are a couple of options. I mean, first of all, Montreal is an island, right? I
Okay.
don't know if you're familiar with that fact. Montreal is an island. It's an island that is 8 times the size of Manhattan, just to put it
Mhm.
in perspective, right? So it's a big island. The airport is in Dorval. It is inside the island of Montreal. And it all depends on traffic, but 20, 25 minutes from the city center.
Mhm.
It all depends on how you want to move and your budget. If you if you have enough budget, I mean, just to take a Uber or a taxi, it's the best way and a faster way to get into the city. If you're more on a budget, you will need to take a bus. There's a bus when you exit the airport that will take you downtown Montreal, and it costs you $10,
Mhm.
and it will drop you exactly in downtown Montreal. And once you get into the city, and with that same ticket, you could move, you could arrive to the metro, and then you could move to wherever you're going.
Okay, I see. And how far away would you say the airport is? Like, what's the travel distance that travelers can expect?
Oh, I was telling you, I mean, no more than 20, 25 minutes, depending on traffic. If you want to put it in kilometers, it's 20 kilometers from the city center.
I see. So on the way from the airport to the city center, are there any good places to visit nearby? Maybe day trips that travelers can take before they head into Montreal.
No, actually, I would recommend the people that is arriving. I mean, you're landing in Montreal, okay?
I
Again, Montreal is an island. So once you arrive, and Montreal is divided into by Boulevard Saint Laurent. The east part that is mainly French speaking, and the west island that is going to be mainly English. But once you arrive to Montreal, you're in the island of Montreal, and then you could move, right? The majority of the people is going to visit downtown Montreal and some of the neighborhoods that are around. But if you have a car or if you like biking, you could go all the way up to the West Island, or you could go all the way to the east. There are tons of different attractions that you could visit. Yeah, but it's not like you have to arrive and then stop somewhere to see an attraction and then continue to your hotel. No, you're right. You go to your hotel and then you start planning your days.
Okay. So you mentioned that there's an east side and a west side of the city. What's the
Yeah.
most affordable way for travelers to get between those sides or just around the city in general?
Well, I mean, it all depends, yeah, and the time of the year that you're visiting and weather-wise. If you were going to ask me what is the best way to move through the city, I will tell you by bike. You could rent bikes. There are a lot of places where you could rent bikes. There's also a city bike system that is called Bixi. So you could get a bike everywhere, right? You pay for the bike and then you move. For me, that is the best way to visit the city because you could stop wherever you want. You could, I mean, it is really easy. You could sneak in the little streets there, etc. For sure, there is always the public transportation system. Yeah, you have the metro and you have the buses, and you could buy a weekend pass or a day pass or a week pass, right? So that being said, well, that is the easiest way to move around. For sure, you have cars, and then if you want, you have Ubers and taxis, right? But if you're really wanting to discover the downtown Montreal and the areas that are surrounding the downtown area, I will, and if you like biking, I will recommend you to bike. It is a super nice way to visit the city.
Okay, and how much are the bike rentals usually?
Well, if you go and rent for a day, probably it's going to be $50 for a bike. Yeah, it depends if you want a regular bike or an electric bike. And the system, the thing that you have to give a deposit there, right? But there are a couple of companies in the airport of Montreal that rent bikes. So you could rent the bike for the whole day or 2 3 days, and that'll be easier and less expensive or more affordable.
Okay. And for the travel passes you mentioned, is there a different travel pass for every form of transportation? So, like, for example, do the buses have one type and then the train has another?
Now, once you buy it, you have everything is covered,
Oh,
metro and buses. Now, you have the island of Montreal, and
mhm.
then you have different sections because you have the metropolitan region of Montreal. The metropolitan region of Montreal includes the North Shore and the South Shore. If you want to go visit the North Shore and the South Shore, you will need to buy a more expensive ticket, but it's not necessary. I mean, once you're in Montreal, I will stick normally the highlights of Montreal, they're all in the island of Montreal. So you could go to the Parc Jean Drapeau, that's another island, by metro, and it will be covered with your pass.
Okay, yeah. And you mentioned that there's Uber and taxis. So, are there any other ride-sharing apps other than Uber?
Well, not that I'm familiar with.
Mhm.
I'm not a very young man. You know that today all the new kids they have all these new applications, but no, normally the people use Uber or taxi. Those are the most, yeah, the ones that are really well known in the city.
Okay, yeah. And what about those travelers who prefer to maybe rent a car? Are there any rental companies
For
available?
sure. If you want to rent a car, you could rent a car at the airport and then come to
Mm.
the city or downtown Montreal. You have tons of different options to rent cars. If you
Okay.
want to do a day trip outside of the city, you want to go to the, if you want to go to Montreal, you want to go to Ottawa. You also have the train also. If you want to go, for example, to visit Quebec City, that is the capital of the province, or Ottawa, that is the capital of Canada, you could do that by renting a car, or you could take a bus, or you could take the train to go to those places.
Okay. So can you give us some maybe reliable rental companies that travelers can look for in case they want to rent a car?
I mean, and normally I don't like giving you names, but there are tons of different companies, you know, the ones that are everywhere. Hertz, Dollar, there are a ton of them, right? You go to the airport and then you choose.
Mm-hmm.
So you go there and you choose. It's like you choose to fly Air Canada, you prefer to use another airline, that is up to the traveler. But there are tons of different options for sure. It's a
Okay.
big city and you have options. Okay. And you could rent it in the airport or you could rent it downtown. Downtown, you have a lot of different offices where you could also have a car.
For our international travelers, are there any driving permits they need or international driving licenses?
You need your international driver license, that's for sure, or your local driver license in order to get to rent a car. And
Okay.
you will need to get a deposit and you will need to, well, just like anywhere in the world, right? You
Mm-hmm.
will need to get an insurance and that's it.
All right. Okay. So I think another thing that a lot of our viewers will be interested in talking about today is food. So who do you think are the best local food that travelers should try in Montreal?
Okay, that is a very good question. Montreal, it's one of the cities that has more restaurants in North America per capita. So you have tons of different options whatever you want to eat, you're gonna find it here. If you like Chinese food, if you like Korean food, if you like Vietnamese, if you like French, if you like Mexican, if you like Italian, Spanish, you have tons of different options. So it's really a little paradise for food lovers. There are a few places and a few things that you cannot miss. One of the things that are very well known in Montreal is the bagels of Montreal. Montreal has the second community Hasidic Jewish in the world. They're the ones that make the bagels. You know that in New York the bagels are also really well known. While the bagels in Montreal are delicious, and you should go and try them. You have two different options to try good bagels that are coming out of the oven. Bagel Saint-Viateur on Saint-Viateur Street, or Fairmont Bagels. Both of them are in the Mile End or the Plateau Montréal, right? That is one of the things that you cannot miss. Also, you have the smoked meat sandwiches. Schwartz is very well known in Boulevard Saint Laurent, but you have tons of other options. You have Rubens in St. Catherine Street. So you have, those are two typical things of the city of Montreal. And for the younger generations, I mean, a lot of people like to try poutine. That is a specialty. It is French fries with gravy and cheese. It's not my cup of tea. If you're gonna come here, I recommend you to go to so many different restaurants. You have two different markets. You have the market Jean Talon that is in the north part of the island. It is the largest open market in North America, north of Mexico. And you also have the Atwater market. There you could go and visit, local producers, food, cheese, ice creams, tons of different things.
Okay. And so you mentioned a lot of restaurants, but I'm curious to know if you have a favorite, either among the restaurants you mentioned or apart from them.
Oh my God, there's tons of different options, and it also depends on your budget, right? You have very high-end restaurants, you have Milo's, you have Le Meac, you have, Monarch restaurant in the old Montreal. If you like meat, you have Grinders, you have Gibby's, but there's tons of little places that you have to discover. What I will recommend is you go and check, because it'll depend on what kind of food you like, right? In Little Italy, you have tons of different Inferno, you have Luca, you have Marconi. You have in Boulevard Saint Laurent, Cadet. I could spend 1 hour telling you different names of restaurants, and we will not finish. It is really a place where you have tons of different options and all different kind of budgets. Yeah, but I will recommend you to avoid the chains. Chains are the same thing everywhere, and it's not really interesting food. Go and try and look for the local places, right? Little restaurants, those are the best ones, right? Or if you're in a budget, and if you want to discover the good restaurants of Montreal, just go and check on the list. They're going to be expensive places, but they're worth trying it. Also, there's a lot of fusion cuisine, because you have so many different people from different parts of the world. So, you have a Mexican guy that marries a girl from Quebec, and they start making some mixes. And then, there's, for example, a very good place for ice cream in the island that is called Kemkoa. It's a French guy that is married to a Vietnamese girl, and they have an excellent ice cream. On that street, that is also Fairmont Street, you have a guy that only makes gnocchis, yes, and tomato sauce. So, there are plenty of little places all over the Montreal where you could have really nice experiences, food experiences.
Yeah, I think the gnocchi sounds very delicious as well. So I think that's something I'd want to try if I'm in the area.
Okay. Yeah, and the gnocchi, by the way, they're very affordable. You just get there, there's always a line, and they're really affordable. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned a lot of small local restaurants. So usually would travelers need to make reservations in advance when they go to popular places?
Yes, if it's a weekend, I do always recommend to get a reservation, especially in the most popular restaurants, the ones that are well known, like Monarch. It is a place where you will always need to, Le Mac, you will also always need a reservation. So all the fancy places, it is always better to have a reservation. Some restaurants you have to make a reservation 1 month in advance.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Do you recommend any way of getting a reservation? Is there an app where
Oh yeah, open table, it's easy.
Okay.
But that's what I do. It's like, for example, because open table, sometimes they don't allow you, or I normally call the place. I Google the place, I Google the restaurant, and then I normally call and, make sure. Because when you have contact with the human, they could always try to accommodate you, right? So that's what I do wherever I go, not only in Montreal.
Okay. So since there are so many options in Montreal, are there also a lot of places that offer vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free dishes?
Tons of different places for vegan and for gluten-free eaters. Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay. What about pet-friendly restaurants or kid-friendly restaurants? Are those
No,
also
no, they are not pet friendly. Normally, there is a law that doesn't allow you to get. You cannot bring an animal to the restaurant
Oh,
unless it's somebody that needs a guiding dog or something like that. Otherwise, you cannot bring a pet into your restaurant. I
okay.
mean, if you have a little Chihuahua, probably you could sneak in, but normally you cannot bring. They're not pet friendly. That is not that they're not pet friendly. It is the law. You cannot bring animals into the restaurant here.
Okay, so that's a really good thing to note, I think, for our travelers coming into the city with pets as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What about travelers with children? Will it be easy for them to find kid-friendly restaurants?
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah, with kids, there's not any problem. Mainly, all the restaurants will admit only that the kids could not go in the bars, right? That's the only place where they cannot access them. In the restaurants, they're not a problem. You could always bring your kids to the restaurants.
Okay.
It
Um,
doesn't matter if it's a fancy restaurant or regular restaurant. Kids are always welcome.
okay, yeah. What about food delivery apps? Are they popular or are they used often in the city?
Yes, just like it. I think that is more of a generational thing than you could have it everywhere in the world. I never order food online. It's like if I want to go to a restaurant, and otherwise I go and pick it up. But for sure, you have Dashdoor and you have the Uber Eats and all those kind of apps where you could order your food online and have it delivered.
Okay. So what about for our travelers who maybe they want to just pick up a quick snack or they need some travel essentials? Can they go to any convenience stores in the area so they can do this?
Oh, for sure. There's tons of different convenience stores everywhere around the city. I mean, if you want to buy wine, you have to go normally to the Société d'Alcool du Québec. That is something that is restricted. You cannot get a bottle of wine anywhere. But beer and sandwiches and just regular things, coffee, the sandwiches, snacks, chips. There are tons of different places all over the island of Montreal. That is not a difficult thing to find.
Okay, yeah.
And if you want to buy, for example, food, if you're staying in an Airbnb and you want to buy some fruit and some vegetables and something to cook, there is always a bunch of different supermarkets in every area of the city.
Okay. And just to round out our talk about food, something that a lot of travelers want to know is whether the tap water in Montreal is
It's
safe to
drinkable.
drink. Yeah.
It's safe to drink. It is always safe to drink. And we recommend that you do not buy bottles of water. Bring your own container. There's enough pollution in our planet, so bring your bottle of water here like this. I don't know
Yeah.
if you're able to see it. Yeah, but you bring your bottle and you could refill your bottle in tons of different places. Like that, we help our planet.
Yeah. Okay. That's a really great tip to keep in mind as well when we're traveling.
Yeah. It's going to be less expensive because you could get free water anywhere. It's going to
Mhm.
always be fresh water. And then you're helping the planet, avoiding the consumption of plastic.
Yeah, 100% sure. Okay. But we also want to know about the healthcare facilities available. So what are the healthcare facilities that are available for tourists or foreigners in Montreal?
Okay, well, it is always advisable that you buy insurance when you're traveling, right? So you could be covered. If you are a French people here and you go to the hospital, you will need to pay for the services. So it's always recommendable that you have medical insurance when you're traveling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for sure. I mean, you have an accident, whatever, you're going to be brought to the hospital, but you're going to be charged for the services, right? Also, there are some private clinics that you could take an appointment. And also, the medicines are not over the counter. I mean, you could get, Tylenol, those kind of things. But if you really need a specific medicine, you will need to get the doctor's receipt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So are there any reputable medical institutions that you would recommend?
Well, it is if you have an accident. I mean, there's very good hospitals in Montreal, the Montreal General Hospital, or you have the CHUM. You have the Glen, they're the largest hospitals in the city. But again, it all depends on what kind of things happen to you, right? You could always call the ambulance and they will pick you up and you could tell them where you want to go.
Mhm.
Then you'll have to pay for the services, right?
Okay. And
And
since yeah.
there are also clinics, private clinics that you could call the
Mhm.
private clinic and get an appointment if you have something. I mean, if you have a dentist problem, there are places where you could get a 1 day to the next day appointment, right? So you have any emergency, for sure, you're in a big city, it could
Mhm.
be covered, but you will have to pay for it.
Okay, yeah. And since you mentioned medication like Tylenol, so are there any medications or other items that travelers shouldn't bring into Montreal or into Canada?
I always bring, whenever I travel, Tylenol or aspirin, that's my thing. Then I take blood pressure pills, so that's it. Yeah, I mean, any medication that you normally take, you bring it with you, and that's it. Normally, that's all I bring.
Okay, yeah. But there's nothing that's prohibited to bring into Montreal.
If you have your doctor prescription, no, for sure, you just show them, right? That's it. I have not. Of course, nothing that is illegal, right? You
Mhm.
cannot bring any illegal substances.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Okay, so another really important aspect of traveling is being able to stay connected, whether it's with your family back home or just being able to connect to the internet so you can use a map to get around. So, do you think travelers should consider getting a local SIM card while they're in Montreal?
I always get a SIM card. Whenever I travel, just get a SIM card that will work all over Canada. For sure, once you arrive to the airport, there's always a public Wi-Fi resource, but those ones are not that secure. So
Mhm.
yes, I will normally get connected by when I land. That's it. You tell the people I'm arriving. That's it, and then you go, and then you could get a SIM card. That's for sure. That's the best way to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Also to avoid, like having hyper expensive bills from your phone company. Yeah, roaming and all these kind of things. So yeah, it is always better, to get a SIM card.
Okay. What about public areas or restaurants? Do they usually have free Wi-Fi or public
Yeah,
Wi-Fi?
a lot of, you get into many places and you will have free Wi-Fi. Hotels, there's public spaces where you have also like the airport again.
Mhm.
Yeah, theaters, public spaces, a lot of them, they have free Wi-Fi and you could get connected, right? Again, it all depends on the level of security that you want to have, right?
Mhm. Okay. So for those kinds of transactions, either you're buying a local SIM card or maybe you're going to a restaurant, is it better for travelers to use cash or credit card?
I think that it's always a good idea to have some cash with you, so you could get some cash when you arrive to the airport, or if you're in downtown Montreal, there's tons of different places where you could exchange, but the change, or places where you could change for local money, and for sure you could also pay with credit cards. Debit cards is a different story. You're gonna use your debit card in Canada, but credit cards, Visa, American Express, what's the other one? MasterCard. I mean, all those major credit cards are accepted all over.
Okay, yeah. And where usually are the best exchange rates in the city?
Well, that's a very good question. That you have to just go and see two, three different types. Just check online, and then because some of them are like the airport is normally the more expensive, so I will normally wait a little bit until I arrive to the city. And the farther you get from downtown, from the downtown area, the better rate you will have.
Okay.
If you go into the places where everybody goes, yeah, that's it. They're accessible, they're easy to find, but they're gonna have, and the local cruise is gonna be more expensive. So
Mhm.
probably you could get also, consider before traveling to Canada to get some Canadian dollars from your local bank. Well,
Mhm.
that would be the best way. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a great tip to save money as well. So just speaking about maybe the safety of the city, are there any common scams that tourists should be aware of before they come to Montreal?
Well, the scams, I mean, in the internet and all those kind of things are not very good. In order, for example, to hire a tourist guide, the tourist guide need to be a certified tourist guide. That is something that we promote. They have to have a card that identifies them, right? Otherwise, it is illegal. Yeah, so it is
Mhm.
always important to hire guides that are certified by the city. There's tons of different options. Yeah, you could always look in platforms like yours.
Mhm.
Or that is one of the important things. There's other places where you could just go and get a guide, that is going to be charging you whatever, but that probably they don't have the experience or that they do not have the license to guide. That is, again, you have to be aware of that. And it's a pretty safe city. So, I mean, you could move around without any problem. For sure, like any big city, you have to always be careful. And there is some homeless people, like any big city. Normally, the homeless people is just people that, well, they don't have a place to live. And they could be a little bit, some of them, they use drugs or something. They're just chatting or whatever. But it's a safe place. I mean, you just avoid them, you just go around and that's it.
Mhm. Okay.
Otherwise, it is a pretty safe city for sure. You always carry, I always leave my passport and the big amount of money in the hotel, and you just bring whatever you're gonna need for the day. That's it. Yeah, but you could feel. I mean, it's not a city that you have to be afraid that there's gonna be pickpockets or these kind of things. No, it's a safe place. You
Okay.
could really be. It's a clean city, so yeah, you could just be relaxed and enjoy your trip.
Yeah. So do you think it'll also be safe for solo travelers or female travelers?
Yes, yes, I would say that it's a city where female travelers or solo travelers could feel completely relaxed, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
that's
You
great.
avoid going out at 3 o'clock in the morning and getting a place that, you have to use your common sense, right? But
Mhm.
yeah, it is a pretty safe city.
Okay, great. So let's move on to talking about the attractions that travelers have to look forward to in Montreal. So, are there any attractions that would require tourists to buy passes or tickets in advance?
Oh yes, for sure. You could get a pass for the city for the attractions of the city. Yeah,
Mhm.
so there's like a pass that includes a bunch of different things. There's always the Bureau de Tourisme de Montréal, so it is the tourist office. There is one located in Place Cartier. You could get all these kind of passes there, and
Mhm.
for sure there are different areas of the city. So the most important part of the city will be the old port and the old Montreal. That's where the city was established back in 1642. So that is an important part to visit. You have La Rue Saint Paul, that is a little street that is full of restaurants and it's very lively, galleries, a lot of people. There are a lot of pedestrian streets also during the summer months in Montreal. That is something that you could enjoy. You could take river cruises, you could go and see the city from the river. And there are a few important parks that you could visit for sure. The Park of Montreal, that gives the name to the city. Montreal means Royal Mountain in French. That's what gives the name. It is a park that was designed by Frederick Olmsted, that is the same guy that designed Central Park and tons of different parks all over North America. So you have a Belvedere, so you could go all the way up to the mountain and see the city from there. You could access that walking, or you could take a bus to go there. And there are some typical neighborhoods, the Plateau Mont Royal and the Mile End, that are also interesting to visit. You could walk around the street of Montreal, yeah. Saint Denis, Saint Laurent, those are streets that are important streets. Herbourg Street, Rene Street, La Rue Saint Jacques. All those streets are interesting arteries to visit and to wander around. You have the Botanical Gardens of Montreal, that is also nice. You have the Olympic Stadium, that is on the east part of the city. Then you have the Parc Jean Drapeau. That's where we have a lot of different concerts and events. You have the Formula One. So it's a big, big park. The park is composed by two different islands that are in front of downtown Montreal, in front of the old port of Montreal. You could access the Parc Jean Drapeau by bike or by metro. And you have the Casino of Montreal there also. For sure, La Basilique Notre Dame. That's the most important Catholic church in our city. And then it all depends on your interest. I mean, if you're interested in the Jewish neighborhoods, you could visit the Jewish neighborhoods. But it's a city that offers a lot of different things. Parks, we have tons of different parks. If you like biking, if you're a sport guy, you could rent a bike and you could go around the island. It is really very bike-friendly city. So take advantage of that. You have a lot of designated pathways, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And you have the tons of different museums, right? You also have more than 100 festivals every year in Montreal. So Montreal is very well known for their festivals. You have the Jazz Festival, you have the Festival de la Francophonie, the Festival of Circus, you have cinema festivals, you have different ethnies or different groups for festivals, for the Italian Festival, right? The Black Community Festival. You have the Gay Pride. I mean, tons of different options. and all along the year, right? Even in the winter when it's minus 20 degrees here, we still have festivals. So it is a city that it's always rocking.
Yeah, it sounds like it. There's so many things to look forward to when you're visiting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a city where you do not get bored.
Yeah.
It's
Also,
not.
so you mentioned a lot of attractions. So are these would you say family friendly?
Yeah, well, for sure, if you're going out at night, it's you're not going to take the kids to a bar, right? It's but yes, all the big festivals they're normally family friend. Yeah, there's a lot of different concert that happens around the area. You have it's called Place des Arts, so you have a lot of open concerts there. Yes, it's always kid friendly.
Okay. Are there any attractions that you think families with children would enjoy in particular?
Oh, for sure, you have lots of things for the kids. From parks and museums, you have the Montreal Science Center in the old Montreal. That's for sure. You have the Insectarium, you have La Biosphère de Montréal, you have the Biodome of Montreal. So yes, I mean, you have a good amount of things for the kids. Yeah.
Okay. What about senior citizens? Are there any attractions that they would
You,
enjoy?
you also have the Six Flags of La Ronde, that is the amusement park of Montreal, where you could
Okay.
take your kid, right? That's it. For seniors, well, as long as you could move here and there are also, I mean, I would not make a big difference, right? Tons
Mm-hmm.
of good restaurants, tons of nice places to sit around, to wander, a lot of beautiful streets to walk around. Yeah. What
Mm-hmm.
you like? You like opera? For sure, you have opera. You like contemporary dance? You could also go to contemporary dance, right? So theaters. I mean, there's always something going on in Montreal, and you don't have to be from a specific age group
Mm-hmm.
or ethnical group, whatever. You just go and enjoy whatever the city has to offer at the moment that you're visiting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a very big jazz scene, so you have a few places where you could go and listen to good jazz. For example, yes, the House of Jazz, Upstate Jazz, Bistro Jojo. So tons of different places where you could go and enjoy different kind of things. The Symphonic House, go look if there's something going on in the Symphonic House of Montreal. It's a concert hall that is amazing. It's a beautiful place. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot to expect. What about maybe for those thrill seekers or people looking for more adventurous things to do in the city?
What do you like? You want to go? There's a zip line that you could go all the way, phone. You want to go and you want to rent a motorbike, a water bike? Yeah, go there. You know, that's it. You could have fun in the water for sure. During you like surfing, you could go surfing, right? You have the rapids of Lachine, so you could go surfing. You want to go kayaking? You have the Lachine Canal. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, biking for sure. Biking is you could bike all over the city. So yes, for sure. There's, I mean, just let me know what you want, and we'll set it up for you. Right? It is definitely it's a city where it doesn't matter what it's your profile, what kind of things you like. There will always be something here in this city that you could enjoy.
Okay. So I'm curious to know if there are any places that both travelers and locals really love.
Well, Plateau Montréal, that's for sure. The Myland, that's for sure, and the festivals.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you go to the festivals here right now this week, the jazz festival is happening. So tonight, if I want to feel like, I mean, I'll just go ask my wife or my kids, and we just go and enjoy a concert.
Mm-hmm.
And the place is going to be full of tourists. There's tons of different people that comes to enjoy those kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is this week. Then we're going to have the Circus Festival that is also going. You know that the Cirque du Soleil, everybody knows the Cirque du Soleil. It is from here, from Quebec. And we have, every 2 years, we have a new show that begins here in the old port of Montreal, but we also have the Circus Festival. So you want to see, and there's always performances happening here and there during the Circus Festival, right? Then you have the festival just for laughs. So you're going to have people performing all over, right? So it's a city, if you want to visit during the summer months, there's always happening something, right? And if you're coming in a more quiet time of the year, well, you go before you come here, you search what's going on in Montreal this week, and then you plan accordingly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fireworks, yeah, the firework festival. It's also a big festival, right? So you have twice a week at 10 o'clock, at 10 p.m. You have fireworks, and it's a competition. So every country presents, their firework show. So
Oh,
it's
that
going to
sounds like
be
a great
twice a week.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is something nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so just a last question about attractions. Are there any religious sites or monuments that have dress codes that travelers should follow?
Well, for sure, there are some religious monuments. Well, La Basilique Notre Dame, again, the most important Catholic church in Montreal. It is something that you will visit. You're going to be in the old Montreal. I'm very proud. You're going to see there is a show going there every day at 6 o'clock. It's light and sound show. There is not a very specific dress code. For sure, you have to be, you cannot get there without t-shirt, right? You have to be
Mhm.
dressed. But beside that, mainly it's a pretty relaxed city. Of
Okay.
course, if you're going to go to a fancy place, you know, a fancy dinner, well, you dress proper, but that doesn't mean that you're going to require that you're going to be wearing a tie. And that's it. It's you just dress properly according to the way that you feel. You're not going to present yourself in sandals and shorts and t-shirt in a fancy restaurant, right? That is a little bit of common sense. Besides that, it is a relaxed city. You could be just as you are. We love you just as you are, right? Come whatever way you are.
Yeah, that's great to know for
Yeah,
travelers.
for sure. You don't have to worry about, bringing a bunch of different things to go out here and there. That's it. If you're gonna go to the opera, you can go in jeans and wear a shirt. That's it. You don't need anything fancy.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier, there's different summer activities or winter activities. So when do you think is the best time to travel to Montreal, weather-wise?
Well, for me, the best time to enjoy the city is during fall. Fall is a very short season, but it's beautiful because you have all the colors that are changing. It's a really beautiful time in Montreal. It is not that hot. The summer could be really hot, and the winters could be really cold. We
Mhm.
say that we have 8 months of winter and 4 months of hell, right? So in between those two seasons, it is really, really nice. The springtime, when everything is blooming, it's also beautiful. So the month of May, it's beautiful. October, it's also a beautiful month. But anytime, it's a good time to visit the city. During the winter, everything is white. And if you come here by Christmas, you have all the lights. It is beautiful. And during the summer, again, you just enjoy. It's like you put your shorts on and you enjoy the city. There's a lot of rain, so you enjoy if you want to get wet. I mean, there's not a specific time of the year to come.
Mhm.
You just, according to your own vacations, you just plan ahead of time, right? Well, I'm going to be going in the winter. What can I do in the winter? You like skiing? I mean, there's tons of different options, right? You like festivals? There are also festivals during the winter months, right? So you just try to do the best with what you have,
Mhm.
right? But Montreal is a city that has always something to offer to the visitors.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So what are some essential items that travelers should pack with them? Just to help with
Well,
the weather, maybe.
I normally go by layers, right? So I always bring wherever I'm going. It doesn't matter if it's a hot summer day. I always bring a light jacket or light rainwear. Yeah, that is something that I always bring with me. For sure, during the summer months, I always carry my sunblock because the sun could be very, very, very strong. If you're coming in a colder month, just bring a sweater, and on top of the sweater, bring a jacket. Just bring a backpack and put the things that you will. I mean, for sure, if you're coming during the winter months, you need winter clothes, right?
Mhm.
But don't go crazy. I mean, there are some people that they bring a lot of underwear and this and that, etc. And then you go everywhere, and everywhere you have uh, climate, right? So
Yeah.
again, you just have to be prepared for the season. Yeah, that's it. Because weather-wise, it's something that it's always changing, and the extremes could be really, really. I mean, you could lose 15, 20 degrees in one day. Okay, so you just have to be prepared for that.
All
And
right.
again, the best way, you bring your backpack, you put a jacket. That's it.
Mm.
Check on the weather channel if you're gonna have rain. Bring an umbrella, right? That's
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So since Montreal is such a big city with so many things to do, how long is the ideal duration for travelers to spend in the city?
I would say that you need at least 4 days to really have a sense of Montreal. Yeah, 4 days, 3 days, no less than that. I mean, for sure, if you want to get just an overview of the city, you could take a tour by car and go around the city and take a look. It all depends on your agenda, right? But it's a beautiful city, and 3 days, 4 days will be good enough moment to get an idea of the city. But again, it's a big, big island. Okay,
Mhm.
8 times the size of Manhattan. But in 3, 4 days, you should be able to see the main attractions.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend 2 months and still have a lot of things to do, right? But
Mhm.
again, I think that if you're going to be visiting different parts of Canada, you probably uh, pick up a couple of days. Actually, it is very well located. So, for example, if you want to visit Quebec City from here, you could take the train and go there, spend the night in Quebec City, and then come back. If you want to go to Ottawa, you can also go from here to Ottawa and come back on the same day, right? So
Mhm.
it's really well located.
Okay. So maybe let's give the travelers a bit of a clearer idea of the city and the kind of neighborhoods that it has. So which neighborhoods in the city have the best nightlife?
Well, that will be downtown Montreal near Crescent. Yeah. You also have the Latin Quarter. You also have a lot of nightlife there. And probably the old Montreal. Yeah, that will be all the neighborhoods that during the tourist season, it's where you have all the concentration. Uh, Myland, Plateau Mont Royal are also really, really important. So
Mhm.
just keep in mind Crescent Street, the Latin Quarter, Plateau Mont Royal, Myland, downtown.
Mhm. Okay. What about the neighborhoods that have the best shopping spots?
Well, that'll be La Rue Sainte-Catherine. La
Mhm.
Rue Sainte-Catherine. It all depends on what you want to buy, right? If you want to go just have the regular brand stores that you have all over, I will go to La Rue Sainte-Catherine. Then you have tons of different malls that are also connected underground. So if it's raining or if it's really cold, you could access all the different stores underground.
Mhm.
And then you have some nice art galleries in the old Montreal that you could walk around and buy for souvenirs or things, local things. You have the Bon Secours Market, and that is also by the old port of Montreal, where you have a lot of things that are produced here in Canada. Yeah, and I mean, if you just want to wander around and see kind of crazy little things, go to La Rue Mont Royal in Montreal Street, Rue Saint Denis also, or Rue Saint Laurent. Those will be like the main spots for me to go
Mhm.
shopping. It all depends on what you want to buy, right?
So you mentioned souvenirs. So are there any maybe handicrafts or unique souvenirs that you would recommend?
Oh, well, for sure. I mean, maple syrup, that's one of the important things here in Canada, right? So you have tons of different places. Wherever you go, you're going to have maple syrup, tons of different souvenirs, t-shirts, hoodies, all these kind of things. You will find them anywhere in those places that I already told you, right? So those will be, and then you have the typical souvenirs, right? Beside the maple syrup, all the things are local, that are produced locally. If you go in La Plaza Cartier, you have a lot of people that is painting different scenes of the city. You also go and access their jewelry here and there. So all in that area, the old Montreal, you will find a lot of different things that you could get and take a little souvenir from Montreal to your place.
Okay. So when travelers are going to all these shopping spots, would you say that it's common for locals or travelers to bargain?
And no, I will not say that.
Okay.
No, no, normally it is not. No, no, the people normally you cannot bargain. The prices are established. Also
Mhm.
taking into consideration that all the prices are in Canadian dollars, and then on top of that you have to pay taxes, right?
Mm,
Almost
yeah.
15% taxes. So if you see the price it's $100, that not including the taxes. Normally you're gonna end up paying $115, right? So you have to add the taxes to the price that it's shown.
Okay. Yeah. That's a really interesting thing to keep in mind because I'm from the Philippines and usually the prices already have the tax included. So if I
Are
went to
included,
Montreal,
yes, yes.
yeah, I'd be really
That is something that a
surprised.
lot of people, goes like, what the heck? I mean, it's 100, why 100, right? Yeah, the taxes are not included here. It's the way it is, but you have to consider that, okay? Anywhere you go to the restaurant and you think that you're going to pay $100, it's always going to be 115 because you're going to have tax that's going to be added into your bill.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of travelers really appreciate knowing that before they come there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So keep that in mind. That is also important.
Mhm. So what about the neighborhoods that have maybe the best views or the best scenery? Can you recommend any places to stay that have really beautiful views?
Well, again, views. Well, in the old Montreal, it all depends on what kind of views you like. For sure, the high rises are the ones that have the most beautiful views. So you have, for example, I could think about if it is we call it the cheese scraper. Oh my God, I don't know which brand is the hotel, but I mean, tall hotels for sure. You have a beautiful view from the city. You also have, you could go to Place Ville-Marie. You could go. There's a little restaurant that is called. You could enjoy the view of the city. And if you just want to enjoy the view of the old port, well, you stay in a place at the old port of Montreal that has a view of the old port, right? Again, there's not like in a specific place where you could enjoy the view of everything. If you want really, I will go into it's the Marriott, yeah, Marriott Champlain, and from there you have the Tour des Canadiens. Again, today you have so many different options, right? So you could probably rent an Airbnb and a Tour des Canadiens. You're gonna have a spectacular view of the city, right? There is a place in the Parc Montreal that is called the Belvedere Condiac. From there, you could see downtown Montreal. Actually, you're able to see in the back of my screen. You have a picture of downtown Montreal and the old Montreal. That picture has been taken from another park that is on the other side of the river. That is the park Jean Drapeau, right? So, well, it all depends on where you are in the city, the kind of view that you will get, right? And also on the level where you're staying, right? That's it. If you get a really nice hotel and you get in the third floor, well, you're not gonna have a great view.
Yeah. So what area would be the best places to stay for families or couples, maybe?
Again, it all depends on your budget,
Mm-hmm.
like everything in life, right? Downtown Montreal or the old Montreal for me are the best places to stay because you have everything handy. And within that area, you also have a bunch of different budgets, right? So you have really fancy hotels or you have basic hotels. That's it. And then if you go and you choose for an Airbnb, well, try to have something that is around that area in downtown Montreal or the old Montreal.
All right. So do you have any favorite place to stay in the city in case you're staying at a hotel?
If I was going to stay in a hotel, yes, for sure. I have really nice places that I would like to stay. They're expensive, so that's another story.
Yeah.
For sure, yes. But again, it is just what I mean. You have really nice hotels. You have the Ritz, you have the Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, those are really, really old and well-known hotels. You have the Mount Stephen. You have the Four Seasons. Yes, but they're expensive, right?
Mhm.
And in the old Montreal, you have the Auberge de Vieux, you have Bonaparte, and you have Les Saint-Sulpice. So you have tons of different places. Again, you just have to Google, yeah, and see how much you are willing to spend, right? When I travel, I also check that. I mean, I have a big budget there, but if I'm traveling to a place that is more affordable, probably will pick up a better place to stay. If it's a very expensive city, probably I will downsize in the place where I stay, and I get an Airbnb, and I will spend my money in other things that I do enjoy, right?
Mhm.
It is all a matter of your budget, right? And how you want to spend your money. Probably you like food and you prefer to have a really nice meal rather than paying for a really nice hotel. But you have a lot of money and you can afford both, right? Probably you don't have a lot of money and you're coming here as a student. Well, you have inexpensive places where you could stay and you also have inexpensive places to eat.
All right. Yeah. So thanks for sharing more about the neighborhoods. We're actually winding down for the interview. I just have a last question. So we also
Yeah.
like to know more about maybe the culture of the place that we're talking about. So in Montreal, is it common for people to tip?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Normally, it is common to tip for restaurants, for guides, private taxis. Yeah, it is a common thing to tip.
Mhm.
Lately, you go anywhere and they also, I mean, you buy something and you buy a croissant and they pass you the machine and you have the option to tip. So for me, sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming that I don't like that,
Mhm.
that they ask you for a tip everywhere. But if you do enjoy, you're receiving a service and you enjoy the service, well, just show your appreciation by tipping. If
Mhm.
you're buying chips and they're asking you for a tip, I normally skip it. I don't know if I'm ordering a coffee, why do I have to tip? I'm just going to get the coffee and I'm going to go, right? So just again, a little bit of a common sense,
Mhm.
right? If Normally, tipping it is if you receive a good service and you do appreciate it, right?
Is there a usual tipping amount to keep in mind?
Normally will be around 12 to 15%.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great thing to keep in
And
mind.
also keep in mind that, for example, in restaurants, I always tip depending on the service that I get, 10, 12, 15, 20%. But for the amount of the food, the amount without taxes. So let's say that you're paying, your bill is $100. So you're gonna receive the total amount for 115, right? But the price is 100. So I always tip taking the percentage from 100, not from 115, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great tip for our travelers.
Okay,
Yeah. So those are all our questions for today. Thank you so much, Rene,
perfect.
for sharing
It
your
was a
knowledge
pleasure.
with us. Yeah. So I'm sure our viewers got a lot of very valuable information from you, and they probably can't wait to visit Montreal.
Well, we're here waiting for you guys.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. It was a pleasure.
Yes, it was. Thank you so much, Rene.